Today's lesson is try out different jobs in your chosen field. You might find something that you really love. Story 1. April 2012. In the spring semester of my senior year of high school, I had a friend ask if I could help make a video for a school project, and he ended up directing a short film that I shot and edited. It was a coming-of-age, poetry-driven piece that focused on one character and his two best friends. It had some very memorable moments that I'm glad we captured because we were all very close in real life. We referred to each other not as friends, but as brothers, and we still do to this day, about 25 years after we first met in elementary school. I want to reiterate, those two people are some of the most important people in my life, and I'll always be thankful that they're a part of it. My focus had been on acting and directing up until that point, but working on that film showed me that I wanted to do more than that. Now that I had a camera and knew how to edit, I wanted to help other directors reach their visions for projects as well. And that's part of the reason why we called the company A-Type Studios instead of something like A-Type Productions. It wasn't meant to just be a production company. I wanted the company to be producing films for multiple directors. This seemed like a lofty goal at the time, but if I hadn't chosen to do that, I might have never worked with John G. Avildsen, the director who won the Oscar for directing the movie Rocky. But that's a different story. Now, I didn't get in trouble for this because I was a minor and not employed by an outside company, so it was fine to experiment with other roles on set because the stakes were so low. If I wanted to try my hand at being a producer or a camera operator instead of an actor or director, that's all right because there's no money invested in this film in the first place. There's nothing to lose. However, if you're already employed in a particular position and you want to move to a new type of job, that can be tricky, especially if it's in a different department or a different company altogether. The later you make those changes, the more difficult they're going to be, and the more you'll be seen as new in the field that you move to. Therefore, try to get work experience in that other role as quickly as possible, so you can pitch it as a job that you also do, instead of a job you're trying to do, and your hireability will significantly increase. For example, after this project, I could say I'd been a director of photography for a short film before, and I could show this film as an example. That proof is going to open a lot more doors than an interest in being a director of photography. Needing experience and getting hired in a field you have no experience in is one of the few times that unpaid work makes a lot of sense, but you've got to be careful not to overdo it. Working for free not only is a cost to you, but it makes producers think that it's okay to get free labor, and free labor has steep prices in other ways. But I'll talk about that one later down the line. Fun fact 1. I was the director of photography for my project as well, but the vision wasn't as clear and I wasn't excited about it the way I was with the other film.
To fulfill this labor, by slow prudence to make mild the rugged people.
It had the right people and places, but it just didn't come together the same way. I ended up calling this a 2-part poetry series because each was based on a poem, but we came up with that idea after the fact. Fun fact 2. I was so much more inspired by my friend's project than my own that project got an A, but I got a B on mine. So if you're passionate about what you're working on, you'll work harder on it, and you'll get a more polished product. And that's exactly what happened then. I think it's also a good example of group project bias in school compared to work. You know, in school, if you're part of a group project and you help another group, you don't get anything for it. There's no change, positive or negative in any way. Most likely, the teacher won't even know it happened. In work, if you're part of a group project and help another group on top of that, you could get promoted for going above and beyond, or fired for doing something you weren't hired for. It depends on the company and your union status. But school didn't really prepare me for either of those two options. What it did prepare me for was the concept that anytime multiple people work on the same project, one person almost always goes above and beyond the others. And in some ways, I think that's a good thing. I think most projects do need a leader at the helm, someone to say this is the vision and this is what we're doing, because otherwise it can get very convoluted having too many cooks in the kitchen, so to speak. Anyway, that's my lessons, story, and fun facts for the day. I tried to include info for friends, filmmakers, students, employees looking for career changes, and more. So hopefully you learned something along the way.
Learn to forget that you sang out. That is fleeting. True singing is a breath of another kind, a breath that aims nowhere. Pneuma within the god, a zephyr.